Hello 3D printing friends. Today on the BB3D channel we're going to talk about the troubles with the Sunlu Filler-Dryer S1 Kickstarter project. Stick around and we'll get into it right after this. I'm Brian and you are watching BB3D. Hi, welcome back. Hey, if you're new here and you're wanting to learn about cool 3D printer upgrades, 3D modeling, and other 3D printing related stuff, start now by subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. Okay, so today we're going to talk about something I didn't think I'd have to, and that's Sunlu's handling of their Filler-Dryer S1 Kickstarter campaign. Several months ago, Sunlu asked if I wanted to try out their Filler-Dryer S1 filament drying box, and I did, and it worked, and I liked it really well. And although I linked to the product listing on their website, it always showed as being out of stock. Well, in the wake of Creality's Kickstarter success with the CR6 SE, it seems a lot of established companies are jumping on the Kickstarter bandwagon for publicity and bragging rights. You know, fully funded in 37 seconds or over 3,000% funded, that sort of thing. Plus, everyone gets to see how many backers there are for the project and how much money has been pledged. Now, Kickstarter is not a store. It says that right on the site when you start to back a project. Instead, Kickstarter is a crowdfunding site. When a company launches a Kickstarter campaign, it's usually because they've got a great idea for a product and they built a prototype, but they need additional financial resources to ramp up production and actually bring the product to market. To entice you, a reward is offered in exchange for your financial support, and that reward is usually the finished product, the actual retail value of which is typically higher than the amount of money that you pledged. The company sets a funding goal and a time limit for that goal to be reached, and when that time limit expires, if the funding goal hasn't been reached, well, that's that. Kickstarter doesn't collect payment, and the project is dead, I guess. But if the funding goal has been reached, Kickstarter collects everybody's pledges and initiates a direct deposit to the checking account that the company provided to Kickstarter when they set the project up. Then the company takes that money and begins the work of bringing the product to market. They provide updates on the Kickstarter project page, basically blog posts, so you can follow along and know what's happening. Now, sometimes after Kickstarter transfers the money, the company mismanages the funds or grossly underestimated how much money it would take to realize the final product, and the project dies, and the money that you pledged has been spent. And all you get for your money is admission to the failed Kickstarter Club, an imaginary place where you and everyone else who has ever backed a project and lost money can hang out and commiserate. But in a perfect world, the company has its act together, and the rewards, the first batch of final products, are shipped to the backers. And then after the backers have all been rewarded, that's when the product begins flowing into the retail channel. At least that's usually the process. The company rewards its backers before anybody else because without them, they couldn't have done it. So as I said earlier, Sunlu sent me the Filler-Dryer S1. I liked it and I made a video about it, and Sunlu had a page for the Filler-Dryer on their site where it was offered for sale. In the video description I linked to that page, but the product was always out of stock, and then I found out why when Sunlu launched a Kickstarter campaign for it. So why would they do that? Well, presumably to ride the Kickstarter wave that's been taking the 3D printing world by storm. Now, the Filler-Dryer S1 that I received looked like a full retail product in a really nice retail packaging. Sunlu is an established company. They've been around for a little while. To me, it's apparent that Sunlu had the manufacturing already set up to produce the injection molded housing. And they already had the electronics finalized, and they had the retail packaging already done. I'm pretty sure Sunlu could simply have done a manufacturing run of these things, had them for sale on their site, and people would have bought them and loved them, and everybody would have been happy. But instead, Sunlu set up a Kickstarter, and they made a mistake very early on. When they provided the bank account information to Kickstarter, they provided a savings account that couldn't accept direct deposits. And nobody noticed until the project deadline rolled around and Kickstarter collected everybody's pledges and tried to deposit the money into Sunlu's account and couldn't. So it's partly Sunlu's fault for not providing the right kind of account, but I think part of the blame goes to Kickstarter too. Kickstarter could verify the ability to perform a direct deposit by transferring a sub $1 amount to the project's account and then having the project verify it by entering the transferred amount into a form. That would take maybe a day or two, but it would ensure that Kickstarter could send funds once the pledges had been collected. So that savings account thing, that was the first mistake. And when Sunlu realized what happened, to their credit, they've been providing an update about once a week on their Kickstarter page. They've been trying to get that issue resolved, and I think they're close. In fact, by the time this video is released, it's entirely possible that everything with the financial transfer has been resolved. But the second mistake was this. As I said, it's clear to me that Sunlu did not need to do a Kickstarter campaign at all. This product is fully formed and ready to roll. And it seems they already had inventory in stock at Amazon, timed for release such that had everything gone to plan with the Kickstarter, not only would the backers be getting their units, non-backers could order them from Amazon and get them at about the same time. But that didn't happen. I think Sunlu had units ready to ship to backers, but wouldn't ship until they got the money from Kickstarter. And as of the recording of this episode, that hasn't happened. So the Kickstarter backers don't have their units, but Amazon buyers do, and they've had them for weeks. And to make a bad situation worse, Sunlu had coupon codes available that brought the Amazon units down to the mega super early bird fire sale price that had been reserved for the first few hundred Kickstarter pledges. So if you backed Sunlu's Kickstarter project, you risked your pledge money, and you still don't have the product, while others who sat back and waited and ordered from Amazon with a coupon code got just as good of a deal, if not better, on the Fill-A-Dryer S1 Plus, cheap or free Amazon shipping, plus, well, they actually got the product. Now, I don't pretend to know the behind-the-scenes stuff that's gone on with Sunlu's Kickstarter campaign, but from the outside looking in, it was unnecessary for production of the Fill-A-Dryer S1. Also, just my opinion, Sunlu should have shipped to the backers first anyway, while they worked out the financial transfer issues with Kickstarter. At the very least, that would have kept the backers happy, although the coupon code to drop the retail price to the early bird pricing still kind of irritates me. So in the future, I'm going to be a lot more cautious with the Kickstarter campaigns that I back. And yes, I did back this one. I backed it because I liked the Fill-A-Dryer S1 and I wanted a second one. Oh, and to make a worse situation even worser, they're also up on Indiegogo, another crowdfunding site. So I think I'm just going to stop here. Maybe that second Fill-A-Dryer S1 will eventually show up. Maybe it won't, but I think I learned a lesson. And I'm hoping Sunlu has too, because the backlash that I'm seeing in the comments on the Kickstarter is getting downright toxic. And that's genuinely a shame, because despite the way this whole campaign is played out, the product itself works, and it works well. Okay, 3D printing friends, that's about it for this episode. Now that we're at the end, let's go print something cool. Hey, real quick before you go, I wanted to say thanks for being one of these super awesome people who sticks around all the way to the end. Thanks for all the likes, comments, and shares, and an especially big thanks to everyone who directly supports what I do. You're all amazing, and I really appreciate it. Hey, if you like this episode, a thumbs up would be great. And if you'd like to help support the channel, check the description for ways you can do exactly that. Now, I've got some other videos here that you might want to take a look at too. Also, please consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Subscribing is absolutely free, and it's an excellent way to help keep me making these videos for you. Well, that's it for this one. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time here on the BB3D channel.